Hello and welcome to day 10 of PODMAS on the Messy Magic podcast. I am your host, Dee Guy, and I've got a couple of minutes free to share something with you that kind of hit home for me today, and I thought might be helpful to somebody else who might be listening, especially at this time of the year. If you're new to the podcast, this is the podcast where we talk about all things real life, the messy and the magic amidst the mess. And I record episodes straight onto my phone with very little editing, and I convert them into an MP3 and upload them to my podcast host. And it's all about just putting things out there and connecting with you, my beautiful listeners, who I'm very excited to share things with. And today, I had a moment earlier today, and if you've got kids, you might be able to relate to this. Even if you don't have kids, I'm sure there are ways that this happens in your life. And it's all around the expectations that we hold for the way that certain things need to go, especially if you're like a bit of a perfectionist, or you're sentimental about things, or you just love control and you love kind of, things to go the way that you want them to go. So let me set the scene and sort of let you know why I'm talking about this first, and then I'll talk about how I reframed it. So what was happening was I decided to wrap a couple of presents with my 4-year-old to put under the Christmas tree while my husband was out. And so I had this beautiful image in my mind of the two of us sitting down to the coffee table, and I hear parents already listening, already laughing at me going, you had an expectation of a beautiful moment with a 4-year-old? But yes, I didn't get very specific. I just thought this could be really fun for us to sit down and wrap a couple of presents together and put them under the tree, because he's been getting really excited about Christmas. And we did one present. It went really well. He helped me. I let him cut the paper, and he put the sticky tape on, and it was a bit messy, but it was still fun and it was fine. And then we came to the second present, and he had this idea that it was a book, and he had this idea that he wanted to cut around the book in the shape of the book. So he wanted to just cut out a square of paper and wrap it in that. And I explained that wasn't really going to work because you need some on the back and it needs to cover the sides. And so so at this point I could have kind of taken over and said, no, we're going to wrap it this way. Mummy's been doing this for a long time, and I know that this is the way to do it best, and you can help me do it, blah, blah, blah. But instead of doing that, I took a breath and thought, no, hang on, let's just see what he does, because I want him to develop confidence in himself. I want him to feel like he can be creative, and that I'm not going to shut down every idea that he has, even if I know from experience that it's not going to work. I want him to learn those things for himself, and I also want him to have that kind of flexibility to be creative and to try things. And so we went down that path, and in the end, he cut one square for one side, then he cut a square for the other side, and then he taped it up, which was very clever, and it was on, so then there was paper on the front and the back of the book, but obviously we could still see the spine and around the sides. So then he asked me to cut strips for each side of the book. And in the end, we got it together. It was this very, let's just say rustic looking present, because it was pieces of paper that were like all taped together around the outside of this book. And I think he was really proud of himself. And in the end, we also decided to put another piece around the outside, and that way you wouldn't be able to see through any of the gaps. And this is for my dad, so his Poppy, who he loves very much. And then we put a label on it, and he dictated to me what to write on the label, and then we put it under the tree. And so in the end, it all went beautifully, if a little bit differently to how I would have liked to wrap the present. You can probably hear plovers in the background. We have a neighbourhood full of plovers. Oh my gosh. Anyway, the point of this story, or the way that I wanted to frame this, was around how we set expectations for how things need to be. And in this case, it was me thinking about wrapping presents and having my son help me, but I wasn't questioning how we were going to wrap the presents. I just figured we would do it the way you normally wrap presents. But, you know, being that he's 4, he thinks laterally, and he has like these amazing ideas. And so it was a challenge for me to not control the situation and to just kind of go with it, knowing that nothing dangerous was going to happen to us, but to go with his, like, to let him lead. And we ended up having fun, and it turned out quite magically. And I think that we can apply this to so many different situations in life. It doesn't even have to be with kids. It could be, I don't know, could be like your Christmas lunch if you're hosting Christmas and you don't have any kids coming, you just have adults, but you have a certain vision in mind for how your lunch is going to turn out, who's going to bring what, who's going to say what, who's going to give what to who. And it might not go that way. And I think that that's a ground, like that's an easy way to get upset. If you're not an easygoing person, like if you're an easygoing person, everything I'm saying is probably just how you live your life, and good luck to you. Like, I'm very envious of people that can kind of just go with the flow and that's their natural state of being. That's not mine. And I'm also very sentimental about things, and especially around traditions, and I like to hold those traditions and have them play out in a certain way. But as my family evolves and my son gets older, I'm learning and growing into not having things be the exact same way that they always have been. And sometimes that can be a beautiful thing. So I'm sure that there are situations that are coming to mind for you as I talk about this, where maybe you have a tendency to be perfectionist, or you have certain expectations about how something's going to turn out, or you have certain rituals and traditions that you don't tend to be flexible around. It could be holiday related, or it could just be general life related. I think this is something that we can all kind of be mindful about and be a bit more intentional about. And it is a lesson that I learned and took to heart this morning while wrapping presents with my son. And it's an energy that I'm going to try and take through the holiday season, because I do tend to like things to go a certain way, and they don't always go the way that you expect them to or want them to. But sometimes that can actually be a beautiful thing if you allow yourself to see it that way, and if you choose to see the magic in the mess that might be in front of you, just to tie a nice bow on it. Because it is about choosing. We can choose how we feel, and we can choose how to see something. And I think that's really empowering. We don't have to be dragged along behind a situation kicking and screaming. We can choose to embrace it and see the joy and the beauty and the magic that's there that we might not ordinarily see. So I hope this has been a helpful one. I hope you're enjoying December. I hope things aren't getting too hectic. And I hope that this has landed in some way and it's brought some joy to somebody's life out there. If it has, let me know. Shoot me a text or a message if you know me, or email me. You can reach me at hello@messymagic.co. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and you'd like to get updates on the newest episodes. And also feel free to share these episodes with friends if you think that there's somebody who might appreciate the message. So I'll be back with you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, have a magical day.